You mentioned numbers. So performance data, of course, is a big metric that many of us use, particularly nutritionists. We think along the lines of average daily gain and feed conversion. So when you start to look at performance data, how far back do you look to be ready for that audit?
Yes, that's really when you I think about once I know what the goal is of the producer, getting a handle on what their numbers are is really a critical piece. I like to look at least, well, but really like to look at the most current numbers, the last 6 months, but I also like to have numbers from the last, probably the last 2 years, at least to see some level of trend line where they're going and where they've been on the numbers. Sometimes if you look at too narrow short term, unfortunately, like we're running through right now with some of the PERS breaks that we're seeing across the Midwest, you may get a little bit of a wrong picture about a particular production system, that their mortality is higher than the average of the industry, as an example, when if you look in history, they may be a very low mortality system traditionally and just need to get the system cleaned up again. And so you do want to look at a longer term, but also take a short term view at just the most recent stuff. And in that, besides all the performance numbers on the closeouts on nurseries and finishers, and where their mortalities and removals are at, obviously the sow productivity numbers and weaning weights and age, and having a good handle on what their costs have been, and that's I look at feed costs in a little bit of a different view today than what I used to when I first started out in the swine industry, because at that time you could really separate producers out pretty easily in terms of who was a high cost or low cost. Now there's so much that goes into the cost per pound of gain, and what people are paying for their grain and for their soybean meal, for their byproducts. You really have to benchmark them against themselves, sometimes as compared to a lot of the rest of the industry. It is difficult because there's a lot of extenuating circumstances sometimes that lead into that. But probably the biggest thing that I want to look for in reviewing the performance data is, where are the holes at, and where are they falling down, and are there areas that the diets may be contributing to that, or could potentially fix some of the areas, and also looking for where are the areas where there's not a problem. So the old adage, if it's not broke, don't fix it, and there's certainly a lot of situations where I get asked in to review something for a producer, review their nutrition program, and sometimes the answer for the producer is, there's nothing wrong with your nutrition program. There may be some other things going on in the production system, but it may not be that there's anything wrong with the diets.